Hello, it's Phil in the Digital DJ Tips studio with Tuesday Tips Live, our show where we look at a teaching point or a new piece of gear or a development in the DJ world and give you all you need to know about it. And today we're talking about Jogwheels versus Platters. Which is best? What's the difference between them? What is a jogwheel and what is a platter? And should you care? And how will that influence the DJ gear that you buy and use? And that's the subject of today's live. Now, as ever, this is a live show. You're watching a recording of a live show if you're watching it after the event. If you are watching a recording, it's probably because you weren't subscribed and therefore you weren't notified. So if you're on YouTube, go click that subscribe and click the bell. If you're on Facebook, click the like this page and then click show page contents first and all that stuff so that we can let you know when we go live with these things. That said, if you are watching the replay, you can still ask questions underneath on YouTube or Facebook and we will get to you. But it's always good to be here live. So hello to everyone who is with us live. We are Digital DJ Tips. We are the world's leading DJ school. We're the people behind Rock the Dancefloor, the best-selling book on Amazon on how to DJ. And our job is to make you better DJs and better DJ producers. And we do these shows every Tuesday and every Thursday at this time, 4 p.m. London, 11 a.m. Eastern. So welcome. It's good to be here. All right then. So our talking point of today, platters, which is which, or jogwheels. What's the difference and should we care? So what I've done here is set up a pretty classic DJ mixer, a very nice DJ mixer, a Rain 72. And one of these is a platter and one of these is a jogwheel. And we're going to talk about what the difference is and whether you should care, and if so, which is better for you and your DJing. And I'll give you a bit of history as well. So let's let's stop the suspense. A platter is the one that has got more than one part, which means it's this one here. And it's easy to remember that because this is the platter. And a platter is something you put something on, isn't it? Like food or whatever. In this instance, what we put on it is vinyl so that we can scratch and manipulate the vinyl as if it were a record. This isn't actually a record deck. Those of you that know enough about this will know instantly, but those that don't will have probably noticed it's got no arm on it to go over this piece of vinyl. This is actually a software controller designed to plug into software and control the software as if you were using a traditional turntable and platter, and it gives you a lovely feel. But a platter always spins and it's always got more than one part. It's actually three parts because there's a slip mat underneath here as well, which for some reason I don't have on there. I don't really know whether that, yeah, there was definitely a slip mat with that. I don't really know why that's not there, but there's normally a slip mat underneath to kind of like keep it moving smoothly. So that is the platter. The jogwheel, this is a jogwheel. A jogwheel is again, it rotates, but when you hit play, nothing goes around. Hit play here, something goes around. You play here, nothing goes around. Sometimes it has a light that goes around to kind of show you it's kind of spinning because the spinning nature is happening in the software. And so there's nothing actually physically spinning around here like this. When you hit that play button, it will just work. And so the difference is that the platter, it's got more than one piece and it's always motorized. And the jogwheel is simply one piece. There's no bits to take off here. This is all one unit. And it is very, very rarely motorized. I can think of one instance of a motorized jogwheel. It's actually the Tractor Control S4 Mark III has got a motorized jogwheel. It's one piece, but it spins around, but that's very, very unusual. So that's the difference between a platter and a jogwheel. Why? Why do they both exist? Well, you have to look back into the DJ annals to find out why. Platters came, as we've just discussed, from the idea of vinyl turntables. Because in order for, you've got a record, right? You want to play a record. In order to play that record, the music's in the grooves. So this record's got to spin around so that the needle can hear the grooves and play it, right? Otherwise, nothing's going to happen. So turntables were designed clearly to do that. But that means that a digital turntable like this, the spinning is actually optional because, as we've already discussed, you don't have to have something that spins. On the other one here, I haven't got anything spinning here. They can both play the music. We'll get back to why that's optional in a minute. So modern day platters on things like this, the Rain 12 Mark II, the Rain 1 has got platters, and other earlier DJ controllers like the NS7 series and the V7 controllers, which were little versions of these. They all had copied the idea of something spinning with a piece of vinyl on top, but they were a software version. But no matter, turntables, DVS, software versions, it's all the same. That's where they come from. They all come from turntables. Now these here, Jogwheels, they've got a very different history. Do you remember those old CD players that came in a rack for DJs and they had two tiny little wheels on the front? And you put the CDs in a CD unit somewhere else and the player was like a rack mounted thing. Anyone remember those? And they had these tiny little dials. Now they were Jogwheels. They were the first DJ Jogwheels. All they did was nudge the record, like nudge it forward a bit or nudge it backwards a bit. If you're playing on a turntable and you want to nudge the record forward, this is a playing record, you might go like this. So it just goes momentarily faster, or put your hand on it to slow it down, momentarily slower. That's nudging. And that is all you could do on those very early Jogwheels. And they weren't that useful, really, for that reason. But Jogwheels quickly, as DJ controllers turned up, and then DJ gear like the gear we have today turned up, became much more sophisticated. They became much more accurate, and they got more functions. And the way they work nowadays is the top of the Jogwheel is something which you can scratch with. So in other words, putting your hand on the top of the Jogwheel effectively stops the music, just like going like that would stop the music on a turntable. That's the same thing. Now, whereas going like this would nudge the music on a turntable, going like this will nudge the music on a Jogwheel, touching the edge rather than the top. And nearly all Jogwheels work like that. You see how this Jogwheel changes colour when I go like that? That's because it's recognised that I'm touching the top. And so you get both ways of controlling in these. Now the very early Pioneer CDJs, I remember the CDJ 500s, I had a pair of those, only had the nudge movement, but then very quickly they also got the jog movement, the scratch movement, and nowadays, you know, Jogwheels, which is what you get on Pioneer's Pro DJ gear, have got both functions, even down to the very most basic DJ gear. Little controllers like this, it's very, very unusual to find Jogwheels nowadays that don't have that scratch function as well. Okay, so are they very different from each other? Well, obviously they were. I just described to you, those little wheels on the tiny CD players are very, very different from a turntable. So back in the day, they were very, very, very different from each other. Nowadays, no. As I've just told you, all Pioneer DJ gear, every single piece of DJ gear Pioneer DJ makes, apart from their turntables, the dominant DJ company has Jogwheels on it, not Platters. So no, they aren't very different. And yes, you can completely DJ fine on Jogwheels nowadays. The difference is very small. So if we're thinking about which one is best for us, let's look at some of the arguments for and against. So why Platters? Why have something spinning? Why have something like this? Well, it feels like you're using vinyl, and therefore scratching, of course, came from the world of vinyl. This feels just like scratching on vinyl. You've got the torque, you've got the spinning platter underneath, which is always going round, and it's hard to stop this. And it's trying to pull round your vinyl. So when you stop it, you can feel it pulling on your hand. And you know as soon as you let go, you're going to be back again. That's what scratching feels like. And so from a point of view of a scratch DJ, someone coming from that world, this kind of makes sense. It just feels right. But there's another purpose as well for stuff that looks like turntables and acts like turntables. And frankly, that is because people like it better. The audience likes it better. Oh, have you seen that DJ? It's a real DJ. They've got real decks, right? It's nonsense. These are both plugged into Serato. These are both controlling the same software. But that's the perception of the audience. So if your audience prefers you to have this kind of kit, that's another reason you might go for Platters. And also something we know for sure, on live streams, if there's something going round, people watch longer. Go figure, it's true, we've tested it. So for both the traditional turntable scratch feel and also sometimes for the audience or for the way people perceive you, you might prefer Platters. What about Jogwheels? Well, they're lighter, easier to control, smaller. What do I mean by easy to control? Well, it's quite simple really. If you are DJing with a turntable and you press the start button on the turntable, the motor has to get up to speed and the software will reflect that. So it will go, get up to speed. Whereas this will just start. I press play on there, it's going to be instant. Whereas on this one, I press play, it takes a second to get up to speed. So to start a turntable properly, you need to hold the edge of the vinyl and press start, and then release it where you want it to start, and throw it at just the right weight so that it doesn't go ew or ooh. So you've got to get that right, and that is harder to do than just hitting play on a button here. So Jogwheels are easier to control than Platters for sure. And this unit here, you know, this is a tiny little thing. This one here weighs an absolute ton. They're just, this has got motor in it, it's got lots of metal in it. These don't have to, which is why, of course, Jogwheels appear on DJ controllers all the way down to the tiny one I just showed you. They're lighter and easier and more practical for that purpose. So which is best? Which one should you go for? Well, there's no right answer. Of course, there's no right answer. I won't pretend there is. If you're a vinyl DJ coming from the world of vinyl, you've got loads of records and you want to continue with digital goodness, but having everything feeling exactly how you like it, you're probably going to just use your turntables and convert them to work with your software. Use DVS, use the phase wireless system or whatever. So it just still works the way you're used to, even though you don't need anything spinning nowadays in order to DJ. If you are wanting to learn to scratch in a purist way, the way it's always been done if you like, again, you're probably going to want Platters. Even though our Scratching for Controller DJs course is one of the best selling, if not the best selling course out there on scratching anywhere, and it's all done on controllers. You can utterly scratch on controllers and it can sound brilliant. But some people are purists and they want to do it the old way, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But unless you're those two people, or it's really important to you, the image of having turntables and so on, which is going to be the minority of people, everyone else, if you're a party DJ, a hobby DJ, DJing just for fun, if you want to DJ in clubs and use Pioneer DJ gear there, if you're a mobile DJ and you don't want really heavy gear that you have to move around, pretty much every other kind of DJ is, in my view, better off with Jogwheels. Jogwheels go from the smallest devices all the way up to really fantastic multi-$1,000 controllers like this industry standard Pioneer CDJ 3000 and everything in between. And the vast majority of DJs nowadays are very happy using Jogwheels. So as ever, there's no solid answer to this, but I hope that this lesson has given you an idea of why we've got both types, where they came from, giving you the opportunity to be sure which is which so you can talk about them in the right way to other DJs. And if you're thinking of getting into this, giving you an idea as to whether the right way to go for you is with the traditional, if you like, because they are traditional, Platters, and the Jogwheels if you want to go on a more modern route. And remember, the difference is Platter has something put on it. They're more than one piece. Jogwheel doesn't. So that's how to remember them apart. Okay, let's now spend the rest of our time together today talking to you guys and girls about this, because I know you're going to be wanting to share your opinions. So if you've joined us on the recording, you've got a choice now. You can hang around and see the discussion we had, or that's the end of the lesson. You can jog on, get on your merry way. All that's left for me to say, if you do want to leave us now, is please join Digital DJ Tips. It's free. You get a free copy of the book I showed you earlier, and we would love to have you as our latest member. Come and join the community if you've enjoyed this. Right, okay, talking to the community, let's get to you guys and girls and let's have a chat about this. So what are you saying about Platters? What are you saying about our conundrum here? Which is the best one to go for? Let's just find some comments. If you've got questions, by the way, use hashtag ask in order for me to share those questions and find those questions more easily. So Selector Shaka says, I've been a turntablist for 25 years and I prefer nowadays digital ones because of the heavyweight of vinyl. Otherwise I miss the physical touch of the vinyl, so thank you very much for that. So hello Dr. Karen, nice to see you as ever. Philip says both get the job done. I love the feeling of music running under your fingertips, but I hate carrying gear with those heavy Platter motors. Yeah, you know, even the Rain 1, which is a small-ish controller, is very, very heavy. So Christian says sometimes there are some misconceptions between Platters and Jogwheels. Sometimes other DJs tend to call Jogwheels Platters. We've all been guilty of it. I've been guilty of it, but we now know the difference. Driver John says my controller doesn't have either. I've got an X1, a Tractor Control X1, which doesn't have a Jogwheel. No, some of them have touch strips. We didn't talk about touch strips today. It's a little strip that you put your finger on and you can kind of like scroll through the record that way. They're quite good touch strips. I quite got into those back in the day when a few people were fitting them to their gear. So DJ Ginormous says, since I learned to DJ on actual turntables, it really freaks me out that the pitch control is on the top of the platter unit and not on the right, like a Technics 1200. Ah, well, there's a reason for that, my friend. Let's go and look at the unit and I'll explain to you why. So here is the Rain unit. Now look, you can spin this round. You can easily DJ with this set up like that. And now it looks like a record deck. The start-stop button is where it should be on a record deck. It's just out of camera view actually. But the start-stop button is exactly where it should be. There. And it works just like a record deck. The decal is all printed the wrong way. The reason it's like this is because scratch DJs, and this is primarily a scratch turntable, they're the people who buy it, they rotate their record decks through 90 degrees. So even if this were a record deck, they'd rotate it and have this at the top because it keeps the arm out of the way of your hands when you're scratching, right? You don't want the arm here. You can do it with the arm there, but you're more likely to knock it. So years ago, scratch DJs turned them around, and when Rain made this, they decided to stick the pitch controls and other controls at the top here, leaving it a bit cleaner down here for scratching. And that's exactly why that's the case. So you could rotate it, DJ Ginormous. You don't need to stick with it the way they've done it there. But a great question, thanks for asking that. So Vonco de Silva says, I prefer platters. There's an element of connectedness one feels using a platter. For sure there is an element of connectedness. It just feels more as it was and should be kind of, doesn't it? But it's also a little bit overkill nowadays. Things do change, right? So there's kind of a counter argument to that as well. Jorge, I love that platter, man. I've the DDJ 1000 from Pioneer, I love it, but that platter is a classic. So yeah, a lot of people think that, you know, there's merit to both. What about the motorized Denons? Are they hybrids? That is actually a very good point. This unit here is the Denon unit. But no, it's not a hybrid because the Denon also has the turntable and the slip mat and the platter underneath. So this is a platter as well. The only unit in the world that is not, that is motorized but is not a platter is the Tractor Control Mark III, which has got literally jog wheels just like the ones we've got here, but they spin. They're really cool, but they're not platters. So, loving this today. Hit the share buttons if you're enjoying this as well, please. That's what helps us to do this stuff. Dek Makata says, using waveform and touchscreen controller just overtook all this. That's the problem with tech. I couldn't mix vinyl if I tried, but the art is unreal. But all this is now overtaken by presets. Well, look, you stop the world, I'm getting off, right? There's nothing we can do about it. Technology moves, but there's nothing to say you need to move with it. There's lots of DJs are very happy using what they've always used and have no need to change or no desire to change. Christian says, scratching on platters and jog wheels has no difference at all, but when it comes to pitch bending, it's noticeable. Well, Steve, our scratch shooter, would argue with you on that one, but yes, it's certainly different. And certainly, I think also the feel of it's different. There's no denying the feel of it's different. Jorge's remembering playing on the old Denon and Gemini double CD decks. Yep, I remember it very well. So's Philip. It says, I actually like the Vestax joysticks. They're very nuanced for beat matching. You know, man, I don't remember those. I don't remember those at all. Your memory is better than mine. More questions or more comments. Dragon Cloud says, I started with vinyl in '96 and I'm still strictly vinyl 25 years later. And good on you, Dragon Cloud. Don't let me tell you otherwise. Driver John, I love using my Technics 1200s, but I'm a guy who loves vinyl. I can't afford CDJ 3000s. Who can? Patrick, I love platters. I use DVS with Recordbox and Reloop RP 7000 Mark II turntables, but with classic needles. I don't use phase. They're pretty risky and sensitive in a club environment. In clubs, I prefer jog wheels, but platters are an awesome feeling. Thank you for that. Rommel, I like both. My home setup is a mixer and turntables. When I'm doing a gig though, I'll bring my controller unless it's a really special event, in which case I tend to bring the turntables. So there we go. There's an example of the special events you want to be seen with your turntables. It's like putting your best suit on. I love that. Thank you very much. One or two more comments then. Hi Eastwood 12318, please leave our channel, you are not welcome. So Jan says, did you try Tractor Control X1 without jog wheels? Yes, I did, and it was really cool. I love them. And also, anyone remember the Novation Twitch? That was another controller that didn't have jog wheels and just had touch strips. Yeah, it was good fun. I like using that gear. By the way, talking of Twitch, there's a lateral move, isn't it? If you're watching us on Twitch today, thank you. Good to have you here. If you're watching us on YouTube or on our Facebook pages and groups, good to have you here as well. All the comments are coming in live here, so you've got every chance of getting your comment mentioned or your question answered, whatever platform you're watching us on. Driver John, I used to have 2 CDJs next to my Platters, but I simply can't afford it. That is often the case. Alex, it depends on your style. If you're a turntablist, purist, hip-hop, vinyl DJ, they tend to lean towards Platters. House and club DJs tend to lean towards jogs because they're club and festival standard. Alex, you've put it really, really well there. I can't argue at all with that. So Andrew says, don't forget the difference between mechanical jogs versus capacitive jobs when touching. Right, this is a good point. So the unit we've got here, thank you for that point, Andrew, let's explain it. The unit we've got here, this jog is capacitive. You touch it and nothing moves. Whereas the jogs on the Pioneer gear, let's just get this one on the overhead camera so you can see it. These are nowadays, on the CDJ 3000, they are, I think, still mechanical, but you can't really feel that switch when you touch them. On the CDJ 2000s, you very much can feel a switch when you touch that. It's a mechanical feel, so it kind of switches on and off. They're a lot more heavyweight, you know, you can bang them about a bit more. There's something about capacitive jog wheels, kind of makes you be a bit more careful with them. So again, it's just a slightly different feel to them. But they all essentially do the same thing. You still get the scratch control on the top, and you still get the nudge control at the side. So thank you for sharing that. Can you still do spin backs on Platters? Well, yes, you can, but then they're going to start going again unless you stop the motor playing at the right time. But yes, spin backs came from the world of Platters. Matt, I just can't explain why I like Platters. No, it's a love thing, not a like thing, isn't it? Jarrett prefers Platters. It just feels more natural and it's more fun. Fun's a good thing, yeah. A bit like manual versus automatic shifting with cars. Yeah, good comparison there. Thank you for that. Why are CDJs so expensive? Pioneer DJ knows that they can sell them at that price because they are the pro standard, is the simple answer to that. Dragon Cloud has their decks turned to the sides, so my pitch controls are on the top back, so my tone arms come down from the top right, just easier for me. So there we go, that's very normal that. Michael just picked up my first pair of motorized Platters and I love the feeling a ton, but I realized that backspins take a different technique than on Platters. It was a bit of a learning curve. DJ2AM says, hey Phil, why aren't the denim ones seen by a lot of turntablists? You see the Rain set up a lot more in the hip hop world. Well, we've already answered that. The denim gear is more kind of like for house and clubs, and the Rain gear and turntables are kind of more hip hop and scratching. One or two more questions or one or two more comments. Charlie says, as a vinyl DJ, the feel is different, especially my original Technics. The reel to reel is a classic now as far as being able to still scratch on controllers and do so much in a few seconds. It's just in a few milliseconds, I think you're saying, it's just riveting. So yeah, things move on for sure. And let's just grab a final comment here from Philip. This is a really good one. Thank you for this. I think it's easier for an audience to understand what a DJ is doing when they get busy on moving Platters rather than on static jog wheels, even if it's pretty much the same motion. And we kind of touched on that as well. And we are going to have a final comment. This is from You Don't Like My Music, who says, Phil, you need to do these later. You're conflicting with my dog walking hour. So listen, you can always watch the replay of these lives. They're always live for you to watch almost instantaneously on Facebook and on YouTube. You can watch the replay of these there. People, this has been Tuesday Tips Live with me, Phil Morse, in the Digital DJ Tips Studio. If you like this and you want more teaching from us, subscribe to the channel and we'll give you a free copy of our book, and we'll also keep you informed with everything going on here and in the DJing world. It's totally free. And join me again the same time next week. Tuesday Tips Live will be taking a break throughout July and August, most of July and August. So I'm not going to be in the studio. However, we will carry on with our Thursday Q&A live, which is at exactly the same time, 4 p.m. London, 11 a.m. Eastern, answering all your DJ questions, although I can't guarantee it will be from a quiet place or even on a good internet connection, but I will be carrying on with the Thursday Q&A live throughout summer, and Tuesday Tips Live will be back in September for the new term. So we'll see you there then, but we've got a couple more to go before we reach the point where we take our summer break. So do come and join us next week, where we'll be covering some other breaking news or tuition point in the world of DJing. Meanwhile, thank you for being here today, whatever platform you're on. Thank you everyone who asked questions. Hit the share button if you've enjoyed this. And all that's left for me to say is get good, get out there, make the moments, and I'll see you again next week. Until then.